Hello, today I have, is it Mairi?
It's Mairi.
Mairi.
Mairi rhymes with safari.
Right. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Donna, for having me on. We've had, before we started recording, we've had like a 15-minute like gossip, which is really nice because I've been so looking forward to coming on. So I'm Mairi Chong and I'm a crime writer. I write murder mystery fiction, and I would say I'm on the kind of the same theme as the kind of golden age of crime, with the strong element of justice at the end and good versus evil, and just the puzzle solving element as well to make it fun for the reader, you know. And I used to work as a doctor, so my books have a strong medical theme running through them. And in fact, as well as the kind of the murder mystery element, there's a kind of medical mystery element as well. The protagonist in the series, it's a 7-book series at the moment, is called Dr. Cathy Morland, and her first book comes out tomorrow. Da, 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 da. And yeah, so it's called Death by Appointment. And in it, Dr. Cathy has recently been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which I also have myself. And she travels to this remote coastal hamlet of Carnarvon, fictional place. And while she's there trying to recuperate, she witnesses a terrible tragedy on the cliff tops. And the whole village assume that it's suicide, but Cathy finds out that exactly 30 years ago to the very day, there was another terrible tragedy. A young mother leapt from the cliff tops clutching her newborn baby. And she obviously realizes that something is amiss and there's some link between the two tragedies. So she begins to investigate, obviously puts herself at grave risk. Otherwise it wouldn't be a proper murder mystery, would it? So that's where it starts off. That's where the series kicks off. And Death by Appointment, as I say, it comes out tomorrow, which I'm really nervous about. And I feel really sick today. And then Bloodhound Books are publishing, so there's 7 books in the series, and they're going to publish 1 book a month up into August. So the whole of the series is now written, and I've written book 8, and that I've still to pitch to the publishers because I kind of want to see how the series goes, and then I'll maybe, you know, I'm kind of at that stage like I'm not quite ready to let it loose. So yeah, that's who I am, that's what I do, and it's lovely to be here. So yeah.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a writer?
Well, no, I grew up in the 80s, right? And we lived in a village kind of similar to the fictional hamlet that I've described in this first book. Okay, so right, it's like on the cliff tops, absolutely beautiful, idyllic childhoods. But like in the 80s, your parents just booted you out for the day and you could just roam free. It's not like it is today. So we used to do rope swings and building dens, and because we were on the cliff tops and our parents were quite liberal, we used to clamber up and down the cliffs and go like hunting for smugglers in caves. And a lot of my childhood was really based on reenacting Enid Blyton's famous 5, I would say. So I was heavily influenced, I would say, by the kind of adventure mystery element when I was growing up. And I did write quite a bit of, you know, bits and pieces when I was a kid, and I was really encouraged by one teacher in particular. My dad read an awful lot to us as kids, and we did read a lot. And my mum's family are actually from, I don't know if you've heard of the little island of Iona. It's on the west coast of Scotland. It's this really magical tiny island. And so her family are from that island, so we spent all of our holidays there. And again, that was like, it felt like the island actually belonged to us. And I do feel like a lot of those childhood kind of things have really like sparked my imagination. And it's only now, so when I went to secondary school, I really went down the science route, and that's how I ended up going to medical school and becoming a doctor. And I did, like, when I was working, I did write stuff for medical journals and things, so I was still doing it, but it was very dry, kind of, you know, stuff on cervical cancer and stuff. Well, you know, it wasn't fun to write, but it was, you know, I was still doing something semi-creative. And then when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder a few years ago and had to stop work, the writing really came back. And like I say, I've got this vivid imagination, so I think it's been great therapy for me to write, but it's also, I'm so fortunate to have found a second career, basically. And for that, I'm so grateful. So a lot of my own kind of personal kind of doctor medical experience gives the books that authenticity, but also the bipolar stuff as well, because my protagonist is recovering from bipolar disorder and she returns to work, which I didn't do, but I feel like I'm almost sort of living my medical dreams through her a little bit vicariously now, you know. So but it's been a real gift to me to discover the writing. So like I say, it wasn't a first choice career, that was being a doctor, and I absolutely loved every second of it. But if I'm not able to do that anymore because of my mental health, then the writing is, yeah, it's a pretty good second choice.
And when you wrote the first book, did you know that you were going to write a series?
No, Donna, I honestly didn't think I could write a book, let alone write a series. No. Initially, so I started writing when I was quite unwell, actually. And I was recommended by my psychiatrist to do something artistic, you know, as therapy. And I can't paint, even though my mum's an artist, I'm absolutely hopeless. So I did go back, and like, I'd always read the kind of golden age of crime fiction. Like, I went from Enid Blyton straight to Agatha Christie when I was about 10, and then, you know, moved on to Dorothy Sayers and Josephine Tey and Freeman Wills Cross and all the big greats, you know. So I suppose I kind of set myself, because I've been working full time all what felt like all my life, you know, to become a doctor and then as a GP. To stop and do absolutely nothing was just inconceivable. So although I was unwell, the time when I was recovering, sitting at a computer and filling a page with words, even if at the time they were incoherent and would never ever be read by anyone, it felt like I was achieving something. Do you know, it gave me a purpose in life. And I think because I had that strong, and in fact, Donna, I wrote about like 6 or 7 full-length books during that time. No one could ever read them now because they were just appalling. They just made no sense whatsoever. But it really helped get me into that kind of, like, I suppose that feeling that I was able to write a lot of words down, you know. But yeah, so I think because I'm quite ambitious, and because I was convinced that I could do something more, I started challenging myself a bit more to try and do a mystery, something that I would like to read, you know. And I think, you know, you can't please everybody, but if you write something that you would genuinely like to read yourself, then there must be other people out there who maybe would like to read it as well. But that was always my thinking. And I wrote a few, and eventually got to the stage where I kind of started submitting them to publishers and so on, and that's how that ended up. But the series itself kind of developed. I just kept writing them, and I didn't feel, because Dr. Cathy Morland, the protagonist in the series, is kind of really quite heavily based on myself. I feel really struggle to let her go, you know. So I have kept writing more of them. So I hope other people love her a wee bit as well. She's not totally me, but there's a lot that, you know, we have in common.
What was I just going to ask you? It's totally gone out of my head.
I'm rambling too much.
No, not at all. Obviously, apart from having your main character based on yourself, do you hide any secret jokes or messages in your books?
Ooh. No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I have, my husband's a doctor as well, and a lot of my characters are obviously doctors too, because Dr. Kathy is working in a medical practice and so on, and she's meeting all of these, you know, interesting people, but her colleagues are obviously GPs, or her best friend is an A&E consultant, who a highly arrogant A&E consultant who's very, very funny. No, the only slightly, it's not a hidden thing, but one thing that my husband often says is, was this character based on this particular doctor that we used to work with? Or, do you know, I've had that kind of comment, and the truth is no. And in fact, before we started recording, we were talking about this before, because you write too, and you kill off people that you dislike in real life, you know, in your fiction. And I wouldn't say I would do that, but I do think it's easier to write someone if you have at least mannerisms or something to base them on that's real. And you know, because I've worked in lots of different medical settings, in hospital and in general practice, I've met so many interesting characters, so it would be impossible for one of those not to have crept into one of my characters. So it's not hidden, and there genuinely isn't anyone that I could say, oh, that's that person. But there will be, you know, and probably my husband's right there, you know, he probably could pick out maybe one person that was, but yeah, no, that's not the intention though, anyway.
If you were able to take one of your characters out for a meal, who would you choose and what would you ask them?
Oh, okay, well, probably the person I mentioned before. It's Dr. Kathy's best mate, this A&E consultant. She's called Susalina Bat, and she appears in a lot of the novels. And Susalina and Kathy went to medical school together, and Kathy was quite shy and introverted, and Susalina was this rich Indian girl who'd come across halfway through her medical degree to finish her training across in Scotland, and found the course very easy and was highly arrogant, but also very endearing, with maybe very little common sense in comparison to Kathy. And I suppose because during the book, Susalina makes the most ridiculous attempts to assist Kathy in the solution to the crimes, and often gets herself in the most awful mess. So I don't know what I would ask her. I think as a kind of shy person myself, I would maybe ask her, how can you be that? How can you be that confident in yourself? And yeah, maybe I write her because she is what I would quite like to be. So yeah, she would make a great drinking companion anyway. So yeah, after dinner we maybe go to the pub together. So that would be quite fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you'd have a great night actually.
Yeah.
Since you started writing, what's something that you found more difficult than you're expecting, and what's something that you found easier than you thought it would be?
Difficult things for me are kind of the self-promotion. I find it doesn't really sit very well with me to kind of brag about what I'm doing, and I quite like social media. I really like Facebook, and I like seeing what other people are up to, and I like posting photos of like my cats and stuff like that. But yeah, to really put yourself out there and to be, you know, like I say, that confident in your work, I do find very difficult. And I would say from the bipolar point of view, any like any big event in my life is a challenge. So even if it's a good event, so like a book launch tomorrow, I know potentially I can become quite unwell with it. So I'm kind of guarded against big events. So that's hard stuff. But the good stuff is just I've been surprised by, I don't want to say this kind of as a throwaway comment, but I've been surprised at how easy the ideas do come to me. Like I would have thought by now that I would have started to run out of mysteries for Kathy, and I do have periods when I can't write, and I just give myself a couple of months off and I just let it lie. But when I'm writing, it's like I'm possessed. So I'm that sounds mad, but yeah, so I was speaking to you about this before we started as well, about my kind of my I'm quite hard on myself when I'm writing a book. I will not give myself a day off, and I start quite early in the morning and I just write until I've got 2,000 words at least every single day. And yeah, and I don't read over what I've written before, and I almost write as if no one else is going to read it, because otherwise if I start self-editing as I go along, I become really, really critical, and I could trash the whole lot. Do you know, if I started reading it again, oh no, it's all terrible. So if I just write and I keep writing and I keep writing, then I mean I'm gobsmacked, you know, although I've written like the 8 books now, and the rubbish stuff before that, I'm like, I don't even know how it came about. I still don't know where, if I could tell you how to write a book, I still haven't worked out on it. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm here for. That's no use to me. That's it. I'm done. I'm joking.
There's no, I love these people who are real planners, and they have like a notice board, and they know all their character traits and everything, and every character has a place, and their plot has these little targets. My stuff doesn't work like that. It's quite intuitive, and then once I've got my first draft, I'll leave it for a month, and then and don't look at it at all, and then go back to it again, and then I rip the whole lot to pieces and kind of almost build it again. But at the beginning, no, it feels like it's almost magic. By the end of the first draft, I don't know where it all came from.
I saw someone recently that had a notes board with all these different color post-its and stuff.
Oh.
Not just
No. Wow. I do have lots of post-its all over my table, and I do at the moment actually, and lots of bits of paper everywhere, all over the floor. And generally, I'm quite a tidy person actually, but with this, no, I don't have I just don't have that kind of a head. And I think my stories have quite a few different mystery layers to them. If I couldn't conceive of beginning to know that at the beginning, though. They come in later, you know, so no, it would blow my mind. I'm too stupid to be able to do it right from the beginning. No, I'd love to be like that, though. There are some people who are just, yeah, their brains are different. They're just, yeah. But I'm a pantser. I'm not a plotter.
I think that takes the fun away from it. If you've got a rigid formula, then you're just filling in the gaps, and it doesn't sound like it would be.
No, I 100% agree with you. And you know, some of the nicest points in the story that I think are gonna really work for readers are the ones that almost surprised me. Do you know, if I'm getting emotional about it, or if there's a particular scene that I'm writing and I'm actually shaking when I'm writing it, or, do you know, I think, oh, that's surely going to come across well, you know, to people. So hopefully, well, we'll find out tomorrow, won't we? No, I have had advanced readers, and they've been very, very sweet and lovely about my stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping it'll all be fine.
That's usually a good sign, because we know our stuff are the advanced readers, because we read so much generally.
That's true. I mean, gosh, I'm a big reader myself, and I actually listen to audiobooks a lot because I've got horses and there's lots of outdoor jobs to do too. So if I'm if I'm mucking out or whatever, if I've got a book plugged into my head at the same time, honestly, the time goes by so fast, and it's not kind of wasted time. Do you know, if I'm consuming an extra book just mucking out, wow, but you guys you're like on a different level. You're reading vast quantities in comparison to me, maybe, but yeah.
I know, I wish I could do that at work, but it would be quite frowned upon, I think, if I was listening to books and not. I
do think, if you're dealing with the public, you can't really get away with having like your AirPods in and.
Although they come in with theirs and don't speak to me, but apparently that's not. It's not the way it's done.
No, and your kind of ideal fiction to listen to would be kind of gothic, kind of noir horror stuff, wouldn't it? So could you imagine like having that plugged into your ears while you're dealing with people at Greg's? No, maybe not.
No, they'll just end up in my books instead. It's fine.
Yeah, I think so.
There's ways and means.
Yeah, that's it.
Luckily we have some nice customers, some of our regulars, so it's bless them. What was your most fun scene to write in your book that's coming out tomorrow, and what was the most difficult, obviously with no spoilers?
Okay, I'm going to cheat for this because I actually would say the most fun but also the most difficult is one scene, and in fact it's the medical stuff, like the because I've got this kind of insider knowledge. I really think it's important for me to put that across in the books, because it's a view that maybe the general public don't see of a doctor. So in just about all of the books, there will be a medical scene of either attempted resuscitation or some kind of procedure that, you know, is quite graphic in description and high on anxiety levels. I would say, like, you know, that it'll get your heart racing a little bit. So those scenes, because I've actually experienced them in real life, some of them, you know, I've obviously been to cardiac arrests and so on, and some of them are successful and some of them aren't. And because I'm almost visualizing it as I'm writing to make it real for you guys to read, it's quite traumatic, do you know? And I was saying to you, the scenes where you're shaking when you're writing them, you think, oh, that's probably going to come across well. Those are the scenes that I'm talking about, do you know? So if I'm writing about a resuscitation, like I'll be writing fast and I will be shaking by the end of it, and often like I'll be a wee bit tearful even after I've written the scene, because, you know, it really felt like I was there, and I hope that comes across. Do you know, that would be my intention, that you feel like you were there too, and that it was not traumatic, but it was it meant something. I don't know, do you watch Casualty, Donna?
I have done on and off, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of medical dramas like Casualty, I haven't watched Casualty in years because it's so inaccurate. It's painful to watch as a doctor. But do you know, when I was growing up, I used to watch it, and the scenes where it's filmed in the hospital, right? Those, although like they're doing lots of medical stuff and it's all very exciting and everything, those scenes always felt to me when I was a kid, they weren't quite as frightening as the ones outside the hospital. Do you know, when there's the car crash or there's the explosion, or, do you know? So you feel really quite unnerved when you're out of the hospital, but when you're in the confines, the comfort of the hospital, where, you know, people know what they're doing, that everything's okay, then you feel safe. Well, hopefully I put across a little bit of that, but also a little bit of the kind of the psychology of the clinicians as they're going through some of that, because quite a lot of the time, although we are calm and we're, you know, professional and everything, quite a lot of the time we've got a lot of emotional stuff going on too. You know, we go after a really messy resuscitation, we go to the toilet and shut the door and have a little cry ourselves, you know. So I hope I can put that across too, you know. So yeah. it's difficult to write, but it's really enjoyable and rewarding to write that stuff. So yeah.
Have you seen Code Black?
No, I've not. No. Do you recommend?
It's based in an American hospital,
Okay.
and it's a teaching hospital, and it's one of the busiest. And Code Black is where they've got more patients than they've got staff to deal with, and it's all very full on action and stuff. But also, you get the backstories of the doctors and the trainees and stuff, and there's 2 episodes where they have I think the Psychonobota outbreak, which was before the pandemic, but it's so well done. It's just, and I cried basically at the end of every episode as well. But it's on Netflix, I think.
Right. No, I will definitely look at that. But do you know, if you become as emotionally invested in it as that, do you know, it's a good job, isn't it? You know, they've done it well, haven't they? They've put it across really well. They've made you buy into the whole scenario. So yeah. But yeah, no, I'll check it out, definitely.
Yeah, it's an unsung program, I think. Not many people have heard of it. So yeah, I try and recommend if I can. It's amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
And books. We're here for books. Keep getting distracted. When you were editing, what was your most overused word or phrase?
Probably really. You know, I say it in my own speech quite a lot, really. But do you know, my editor's really she's fab, and there hasn't, do you know, I don't think it's usually in speech you can almost get away with things like that because it's the pattern of your language. And I would say because I'm Scottish, some of my language, maybe the editor's question, what does that word mean, or you know, and or I mean the medical stuff, obviously I will put in a bit of medical terminology, but not to the point that you won't understand it. But I think the jargony stuff is quite fun to read anyway. No, I would say that's about it. Yeah, probably the word really. And it's a useless word. It's not a great word, is it? It doesn't really describe anything, but it is just a pattern of my language, I suppose. So yeah, a lot of reallys get taken out.
That's something that I've spotted that I do.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know exactly what you mean because I've noticed that I do that, and I go back and I'm like, oh, yeah, delete, get rid of that.
Yeah. You have to start being quite strict with yourself. But it comes up, you know, you can root it out quite before it even gets to the editor. Even if you just key it in, find the word really in your, oh God, there'll be millions of them come up and you can start going through. But yeah, I suppose the more books I've written, the better I've become at rooting out stuff like that, I suppose. So usually when it comes back to me, having been through the first edit, it doesn't take me that long to make the correction. So it must be going to the editor in a reasonable enough state, I think. So
if you're able to spend a day with any author, dead or alive, who would you like to spend a day with?
Oh my God. Oh Donna, that's so hard, isn't it?
It's a sneaky way of asking you your favorite author without actually asking who your favorite author is.
Yeah. Okay, can I have one dead and one alive? Oh no, gosh, I could choose so many though. Okay, right. From the golden age of crime, my biggest hero is Freeman Wills Crofts, and he is maybe a kind of unsung hero of his time. He was, I think he was a railway engineer, and he wrote these meticulously plotted, beautiful character studies in his novels. And I think he's everything I would want to be, because as I say, I think he must have been a plotter. He's although I'm scientific to a degree because of the medicine, he must have been really scientifically, logically minded, because everything is so clever. And I really love his turn of phrase. And the only thing I would say with him is he kind of depersonalizes his detective a little bit. He's quite a straight character, so you'd never really get to know Inspector French. That's the protagonist in a lot of his books. So he's just a kind of a vessel to discover who the culprit is in the crimes. But oh gosh, they're so clever. And he oh god, I've sounded like a complete nerd going on like this, but just Freeman Wills Cross did write whodunits, but he also wrote howdunnits. And oh gosh, it's so clever. Do you know, if you follow that, he does it sometimes from the murderer's point of view. So he's written this one book called Antidote to Venom. And I highly recommend anyone who loves Golden Age of Crime. In fact, the British Library have reissued this one not that long ago. You know, the British Library are doing the crime collection, the beautiful covers. I've got like all of them, I think. And yeah, so that's one of the ones that they've redone. So it's easily bought off of Amazon, wherever. So yeah, I'd love to beg him to tell me how to plan rather than to just wing it, you know. So he would be a cool person to meet. And the other person, if I'm allowed to have another person who's alive, is actually the person who collates all of the British Library collection. And that's Martin Edwards, who is a prolific writer in his own right. And he's also a really, really genuinely lovely person who has given me so much support and advice since I started writing. And I've sent him like I write scholarly articles about medicine and the golden age of crime, and he's read so much of my stuff and been so supportive. So I would just love to chat to him, because he comes across as such a sweet, kind person. So yeah.
Which leads nicely on to my next question, actually, which is, have you made loads of author friends since you started writing?
Oh, do you know, I'm quite shy, but and so I wouldn't be like a kind of an author circle kind of person. I have actually been to them, and I just felt like, oh, I can't even speak. I haven't got anything useful to say. So not from that point of view, but yeah, I mean, online, definitely. And certainly since I've joined the Bloodhound crew, oh, I've been so fortunate. I've made some really great friends, yeah. And other people who are kind of cheerleading you, you know, as much as if it's almost their book that's coming out as well, do you know? And that really has surprised me, that people are that generous and that sweet. You know, they're really rooting for you, and I really do feel that. So I independently published the first couple of books in my series before I was found by Bloodhound, and it was a totally different experience doing it independently. You didn't have someone like yesterday. I had one of my author friends phone me up, kind of screaming down the phone, "Oh my God, your book's doing so well," and everything. And you know, I didn't have any of that when I was doing it independently. So yeah, being part of a publisher's kind of folds, yeah, that's been really special, actually. And just talking to people, do you know, like on Facebook, like I've got an author page, and on Twitter, and the more you start interacting with people, the more people who are similarly minded to you that you meet, don't you? And it takes a wee bit to get up the courage to start actually saying something in a group. Well, it does for me anyway. I'll sit back and not say anything for ages. And that's why, see, when you went to Harrogate and you were brave enough to go to a book festival, I was like, wow, Donna, well done you, because that's maybe going to take me a wee bit of time to be able to do. But I've spoken at one small book festival already, and that was a big deal for me. But yeah, going and attending and meeting people, yeah, that'll be cool. But yeah, I'll put my anxiety levels up a wee bit, I think. But yeah, I think
we're through the roof, don't worry. It
really,
may not have looked like it, but yeah.
You know, there are so many like bookish people who are really shy, and I could just imagine, like, at these book festivals, is everyone just this really awkward geek who just doesn't want to talk? Like we all just stand like, how do you ever actually manage to talk to one another? It's beyond me. So
Get one person that's brave, and then the other people will follow that little sheep.
yeah,
And then so
yeah.
you'll just descend on people as a group, and then one person will be the spokesperson, and everyone else is all sitting.
Yeah,
That's
totally. Yeah, no,
It's
I
so
could
funny.
see that. I could totally see that. And then once everyone heads off to the pub, maybe at the end, then like tongues are loosened a little bit and you're able to cope a little bit better, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, come one day I'll be brave. I'll come and join you.
But we were talking because you're doing the Hobcast on Friday, and
Yes.
we were talking about Adrian and Rebecca, and
Yeah.
I met them for the first time at Harrogate, and they were worse than I
right.
was. They were more shy than me, but yet they ended up speaking to Mark Billingham and to Ian Rankin. So
Wow, okay.
yeah,
Wow.
I think you either just jump on the chance or you don't, but then you'll go home and you regret it. So yeah.
Oh gosh, I could see that. Well, see, there you've made another like real genuine connection with people, and that's, you know, that's all through the books. And yeah, it is a lovely community, and particularly I think, well, I mean, I was going to say, like, if people within your same genre you gel with, particularly because you end up being complete nerds. Like I'll start going on and on about blooming Freeman Wells Cross. Does anyone who will listen to me? But you know, it's not true, because Bloodhounds don't just publish crime. That, you know, it's a whole mix. And I would I would support them all. Do you know? And the books are ace. So and I've made so many good friends through Bloodhound. So yeah, it's not just sticking to your own genre even, but yeah, certainly I love a bit of a nerdy chat.
It was I met a guy called Malcolm Hollandrake for the first time. We'd been speaking for ages and I'd read his books. We were so excited to meet each other. We literally hugged in a road.
Oh,
because we
bless,
were
how
just like, oh my
lovely.
God. Yeah, we just hugged in the middle of a road. We're both intelligent adults, and
Oh,
we were just like, oh my God, I can't believe. Yeah.
but do you know, I think with social media, you do kind of almost feel like, you know, people, because like you, I feel like, because I've watched many of your interviews and everything, and we've messaged each other back and forward through social media and stuff. And yeah, I think you kind of, once you start speaking like we did, it was almost like, oh yeah, we're friends anyway, so it's not difficult to say stuff, you know. But yeah, no, it's cool. Cool. It's a nice
cool
community, isn't it? Nice
it
community.
really is. Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, all the time I see it, actually, it's lovely.
And you know, I think because I stepped away from working as a doctor, I would say the majority of my friends before starting writing were doctors. And because I kind of stopped work and I was unwell, I lost touch with a whole load of people. And a lot of those people, in fact, someone today that I haven't heard from for years sent me a message and said, oh my God, I can't believe you're writing now. I've just seen your book on Amazon. And do you know, it's brought a whole load of old friends as well back into my life that I really, yeah, that, you know, medical school people and stuff, but you know, people who were really, really dearly important at different stages of my life, and they've become, you know, they've come back into things because I'm doing something new that, you know, is a little bit weird for a doctor, I suppose. But yeah, so yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah, I had one of my older school friends messaged me and said, "Have you finished your book yet?" And I'm like, "No, not yet." She's like, "Hurry up! I want to say that I'm friends with a famous writer."
Oh, how nice is that? Yeah, I know. Well, there will be people who will be really rooting for you, do you know? And I think you forget that when you're writing, you almost, you know, you're almost expecting to be torn down or whatever, but people do actually this is me trying to give myself a pep talk before tomorrow when the book comes out. People really want you to do well, Mari. It's all going to be fine. But
they
yeah,
will. 100% they will.
Generally, people don't want to tear you down and criticize what you've written. I think particularly when you really put your heart into something, hopefully they see it for that, and yeah, they will read it as such. So yeah, that's what I think.
So apart from your horses, what else do you like to do when you're not writing?
Well, reading a lot, and as I say, listening to the audiobooks. I've got 3 horses, like you mentioned, so that takes up a good bit of my time, I suppose. And I've got a 16-year-old son who is just the apple of my eye, but he's obviously like doing exams at the moment, so I would say like a lot of my life is is revolving around him. But yeah, we live in the country, and I'm so fortunate where we live, where we've got cattle around us, and I'm a real country girl, and I love animals, and I'm actually vegetarian. And when we moved here, I wasn't quite sure, because the farmer, his cattle are for meat. That's what he breeds them for, and I wasn't quite sure how that would feel for me. But I think having moved here, I help out with the cows, and in fact I've helped him deliver quite a few cows, because I've got the medical experience. I'm not a vet, but like I know basics, I suppose. So and I'm certainly calm in a stressful situation. I'm very, very calm, and everything's fine, everyone's going to be fine. So that's been a real treat actually since we moved here. So I suppose that takes up a bit of my time, is just the country, the whole like being in the countryside, and and walking in the countryside, and looking after it sounds really rubbish, doesn't it? But
no, it sounds amazing. I'm jealous. It sounds awesome.
And he's totally, the farmer's totally changed my mind about I'm not going to suddenly start eating meat. I haven't eaten meat since I was about 10 years old. But the way he cares for his cows, my God, he treats them like his children. He's absolutely adores them, and he goes in and pets them and scratches them, and they all have beautiful personalities, and we all have our favorites, and then they've got names. And but actually, do you know, in now, which book is it? Is it book 4? Yeah, it's in the 4th in the series. I do have quite a strong kind of countryside element to the book, and there's a little bit of cattle farming kind of creeps in, just because I know a wee bit about it now. So I just thought, I'll just pop that into the book. But yeah, so I think you do get influenced by what you're experiencing around you, and definitely like the Scottish countryside and so on is, it's really important to me. So yeah, outside, I'm an outside kind of girl, like country girl. Yeah. I couldn't live in a city. I would be absolutely, no, I would go mad. I think I'm all the bustle and everything would not be good for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I live in a town more than a city, but still I like it. I like access to everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't feel, well, not yet anyway. Maybe in the future, we'll see.
Yeah.
If you were able to travel to any period of time, either forwards or backwards, where would you go?
Oh God, Donna, how am I meant to answer that? Okay, right. So backwards. What would I do? I go back to sort of Victorian time, when Conan Doyle was doing his stuff, and he was, all this really amazing inventions where, electricity was being kind of understood, and all these amazing things were happening, and the writing at that time was unbelievable. I mean, people were coming up with the most amazing ideas, and I often think we almost are just rewriting the same stories that other people have written before us, aren't we? It's like what they say about the Beatles. I'm a big Beatles fan as well, that's another thing. But do you know, since the Beatles wrote their amazing extensive catalogue, it's very difficult to write a really good song, isn't it? Because they've been written already. So I feel like a lot of, anything that comes after that, it's quite difficult to live up to that, and you're almost recreating or taking an element of that again. And I do feel that time when Conan Doyle was beginning, and wow, yeah, that was amazing. I think it would have been a very difficult an unpleasant time to actually live in. But if I was just kind of chatting to a few authors, then that would be okay, wouldn't it?
Just pop in and pop out again.
Yeah.
Yeah, before you needed any medical care or, you know,
Yes,
any kind
exactly.
of sanitary things. And
yes, exactly. No, that's the most impossible question I think I could have been asked. So that's the best I can come up with.
That's fun. Well, you may be pleased to know that that's it. Unless you think there's anything that I haven't asked you that you want to tell us about, then I
don't
won't
think
talk
so.
to you anymore.
I hope people enjoy the series. And as I say, the first one, Death by Appointment, comes out tomorrow. And yeah, I hope people love it as much as, you know, I hope it deserves, because it had a lot of heart put into it, you know. So this comes out tomorrow, and then the next book, called Murder and Malpractice, is out in February. And then, oh gosh, I've got a list of them here. In March, Deadly Diagnosis is coming out. In April, Shooting Pains comes out. In May, it's Clinically Dead. And then in June, it's Not for Resus. And then in July, it's The Vanishing Patient. So they're obviously all very medically named. And yeah, Dr. Cathy Moreland is featuring in all of them and does her stuff. So yeah, I hope people enjoy it. And if you want to let me know if you've enjoyed it, then like I'm all across social media. So yeah, come and find me.
So would you like to just tell everyone where they can find you and where they can get your books?
Yeah, so
most
the
important
books,
things.
Yeah, whoops, I forgot that. Yeah, so like the books are easy to get on Amazon, and in like obviously ebook and paperback. It's also on Kobo. It's across all of the usual sites, and if you go into the bookshop, you can order it as well. And if you want to find me, I'm just Mairi Chong on most of the social media sites. And yeah, same goes for my website. It's, what is it, www.mairichong.com or something. Like, it's like fairly unimaginatively named. So yeah, you'll find me that way. But yeah, I would love to chat to people if they, you know, I'd love to hear people's feedback. But the reviews so far have been really, really sweet. So hopefully people get on board.
Will, and I will be promoting it tomorrow in my group anyway.
Oh, you're darling. Thanks so much. I've really enjoyed chatting to you.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Donna. Bye.